Well, good afternoon. Welcome to our osteoporosis lecture. This hour is going to be bulging. I think that there is so much, in fact, I know there's so much information that I want to get out to you that it's almost impossible to do it in an hour. And we've had some issues with it going over time. So I'm concerned about that because you have lives to get back to. So in many cases, we will take a slide that's on the screen and we'll send it home as a take home, all right? And to my left is Gabrielle, and she will be making sure that your take-home list is as we predicted would be. There's quite a few items on the take-home list. So don't feel that you're being shortchanged on any of the slides. The big question is, can osteoporosis be reversed? And the subtext of that is, can osteopenia be reversed? And I have to say, osteopenia can go back to normal bones rather quickly with exercise and nutrition. I would like to see my models on the screen, please. We have two models here today that are going to help me get through this. They're going to be demonstrating the exercises. And I want you to pay attention to their form. So this class is all about hope. To all of you who wish to reverse osteoporosis naturally. Let's do that again. First wave is Catherine, and the second wave is from Terry. All right, so they will be here to help answer some questions or interact with us. The critical elements of an exercise program. I say critical because there's 1,001 exercise programs out there in the world these days. And some of them even say that they're for osteoporosis, but when I examine them, they're not. So we're very fussy about exercise targeting osteoporotic sites. So it would be in your best interest to know where your weakest part of your skeleton is, because we will talk about things that are in your bone scan, like spine, like lumbar spine, like hip, like total hip, like wrists, or they call forearms. So make sure that you're aware of your body, your skeleton. If you don't know about right now, try to look it up later on so that you can see this video again because it's up for a week and you can find the exercises that will best suit you. The other thing is we will talk about what exercises not to do. That's very important, and only people who have been trained, trainers who have been trained in osteoporosis would know about what is dangerous for the spine. We also include essential, these are great words, critical, essential, nutrients to enable the bone building process. The bone by itself will not build without nutrition and other environmental factors. So we will talk about that in this lecture. I'm also going to address pharmaceuticals, as I will, indeed, the quality of bone. You will learn the difference between DEXA scans and trabecular bone scans. You will learn about BMDs, bone mineral densities, and bone quality. Both scans should be available, but they are not readily available yet. So I'll go into depth with that later on. So let's move on. I'd like to talk about osteoporosis with diet and exercise. It's targeted exercise that makes the difference. And it's what not to do that makes the difference. But the key words for our exercise is progressive and weight bearing. And bone healthy nutrients consolidate the stimuli of exercise and impact loading. So as the muscle impacts or loads the bone, you have to have the nutrition to support it. And osteoporosis, does it come on overnight like a virus or like COVID?
No.
When do you think, when do you, as you know it, when does osteoporosis start?
Comes on gradually, like after 30s is your peak.
30 is the magic age. Do you remember being 30? And
Vaguely.
worrying about your bones? I mean,
No.
no, we weren't. So at age 30, you were losing a bone cell per day, probably. I mean, that's how gradual it is. And the 30-year-old a few years ago was the model skeleton because the 30-year-old female worked outside, played outside, ate good food without pharmaceuticals and without chemicals, and the child played in the sunshine. So they took those people that lived that way, and at age 30, they achieved what's known as peak bone mass. Peak bone mass. And then after age 30, it starts to decline. So if you're 60 or you're 70 or you're 80, it is not too late to start building bone because you've been losing it for probably 50 years. But know that it's not going to reverse itself in maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, it could do it. In 3 years, you're probably going to see a big change in your bone scan. Now, the rate of bone loss is not just of aging, just not going older by year to year from 30 to 60, but there's some genetics that play a role in it. There are some hormonal situations that play a role in it. Like what happens at menopause? Catherine?
You start to lose that
Estrogen. That's a key one. And that's a very key element in why women begin to have osteoporosis earlier than men. So when men start to lose testosterone, which I'm not sure it ever is, but they seem to think it's around 70, and that's when they start to show osteoporosis, all right? So we do have some information on men coming up, but you'll get that as a home paper. The osteoporosis, this is the hope. Osteoporosis can be reversed without drugs. Osteoporosis can be reversed with targeted nutrition and specific exercises. We have many studies proving that. And we also have many studies proving that with the pharmaceuticals, people also need the exercise and the nutrition to sustain the bone. All right. So we're going to cover all that later on. And the most important thing is exercise should include fall prevention. And if you do some of these exercises with us today, and when you join the program, you will start to reduce your risk of falls right away. You'll be slowing down your bone loss and reversing, increasing safe movement. So, okay, so we have a picture here of, on the left, this is a group of women who exercised in the live class around a table of homemade food that contains all bone nutrients. And it's a lovely, lovely occasion. We do it every 2 months. And when you join the program and you decide to join the live class, not the Zoom class, you will be invited to this calcium cafe. And on the right, what are you doing here in this one, Terry?
Sitting on a ball and lifting a weight.
The picture cut off the weight. So what are you strengthening there?
Bicep.
That's right. And Catherine, Catherine, you're not in that picture, but you're over here enjoying the lunch.
Right,
Right.
right.
Okay. We try to get pictures with the whole class in, but of course it doesn't always happen. But as you can see, we do a lot of work with balls. And that's why I hope you do get a ball when you join the class. It is on our list on the website of equipment. Okay. I think the most important thing is that people do have fun while they're exercising. I'll just let you read that. Okay. So basically, I didn't put it in there, but I've been studying. I studied with Miriam Nelson for a couple of years. When her book Strong Women Stay Young came out, I was one of the first people in her classes. And I took a follow-up class because I thought maybe it had changed, but it didn't. But I've changed it from the very rudimentary exercises of doing one bicep at a time. I've been able to build it up to, so I'm doing 2 biceps at a time, that kind of thing. So I've worked with people whose general fitness level increased. So there's no way we could have stayed at that level of Strong Women Stay Young, but it's a good book to have on hand. These are some of the things we're going to cover. The diagnosis, the risk factors. Don't be afraid of the risk factors. We can overcome them, all right? The stats. We're not going to focus on the stats because they're all negative. We don't want to hear about falls and fractures, but I have to mention them. And the medication is coming along later on. We will talk about some medication that is popular. We'll talk about some medication that is contraindicated, and we'll talk about some medication that might have to have dangers if you cut yourself off from it. The holistic treatment is what most people are here for. The actually, the people who come to this program always say, I have told my doctor I don't want the medication. Can you help me? So I don't ever tell somebody, do not take the meds. Some people come with the meds in their purse and they're taking them, but they want to substantiate the work of the meds, and that would be the exercise and nutrition. So here we have it. This is the treatment, fall and fracture prevention, exercise, but it's very specific exercise. Don't think if you go to the gym with the trainer that you're going to get it. You won't. It has to be specific, targeted, progressive, osteoporotic, targeted exercise, and you're going to get that today. Why didn't we write all that out, Gabrielle? Okay, nutrition, simple. It's not just eating and eating. It's a very specific type of eating that helps build bone. And the stress management is something that came on lately. It's in the news almost for every medical condition. But I think that it always has been an underlying situation, and we have some proof that stress management can interfere with bone building. Oh, Kathleen Cafe again. Normal bone. Normal bone is porotic. It has pole holes in it. Otherwise, this skeleton wouldn't be able to jump around. If your skull were solid bone, you couldn't hold your head up. So nature has designed us to have the protection from the bone, ribs for our heart and lungs, pelvis for our reproductive organs and our intestines, to have the support and strength and protection from bone, but not the weight. In osteoporotic bones, you see what's disappearing? The walls between the cells. So this person could easily sneeze and fracture a rib. Now, osteoporosis is a comprised bone density. So you're predisposed to fracture. Some people bend over and can't get up because they fractured a bone. Some people walk and they fracture a hip and they fall down. That was a fractured hip before the fall. It wasn't that the fall fractured the hip. Bones become weak and brittle because basically the healthy bone has a slight amount of bend in it. And that's because of collagen. Did you know collagen did that? So collagen is responsible for, keeping our bones somewhat flexible. A bone will bend before it fractures. It's not like a piece of dry pasta that you snap in two, unless it's osteoporotic. But a normal bone would be like pasta that's been in the water somewhat, and then you're bending it and boom, and then it snaps. So if people want to take collagen, I haven't read of any way that it would cause you any problems. Osteoporosis is chronic and progressive. I already said that. And women over 50 are more likely to have an osteoporotic fracture. And the risk of heart attack, breast cancer, or stroke is less than having an osteoporotic fracture. And osteopenia is just a low bone mass. Osteopenia reverses itself nicely. This is a very safe machine. The amount of radiation is less than a trip to California. It's good to know. It's a safe test. And it's called the DXA, DEXA scan. And they have chosen the most popular parts of the skeleton. Those are the parts that have fractured most frequently. It's the hip. Now, the neck of the femur, please note it is not the cervical neck. The neck of the femur is deep within the hip. And we work it in class, don't we? It's a very small piece. The normal bone mineral density is minus 2.5. That was the healthy 30-year-old. And then osteopenia, we're going to up to 2.5. It's up to a minus 2.5, and that it's read on your scan as a minus 2.5 for differentiating osteopenia and osteoporosis. And a T-score of higher than minus 2.5 is osteoporosis. If you have a bone scan, when you join this class, give me your bone scan, we'll go over it. Trabecular bone. Have you heard much about that, Catherine? Trabecular bone?
A little bit, but not much.
Terry?
No,
Well, this is a spongy part of the bone inside. The cortical layer is the outside of the bone. And this is a new measure of bone strength. It's looking at the microarchitecture of the bone, which looks like sponge toffee. The studies done so far have been to increase bone mineral density, and that is making the cortical bone stronger, the outer layer of the bone. And everybody said, oh, how do we measure strength? I don't know, but they came up with a measure for getting the density of the bone in this trabecular area, which is called the TBS scan. And it's done by a device that's attached to a DEXA scan. And very few people in this area have had it done. One lady at her 70s had it done. And I said, what did they tell you about it? They just said I was normal at 1.3. And I said, what else did they say? Nothing. So she doesn't know much about her trabecular bone, but they need more information. They need more research on that. And I'm watching for stuff to come along that's going to give us the best analysis of the strength of your bone would be a cross between your BMD and your trabecular bone scan. Once we get those two measures together, you are going to know that your bone is stronger. But you don't have to wait for that. That could be 5 years, right? So what we do is we look at our gains in activities of daily life, or we look at our strength training. If you started out with 2 pounds and all of a sudden you say, there's something wrong with these weights, they're so light. Nothing wrong with the weight. You got stronger. So then we challenge you with 4 pounds. That's how you know you're getting stronger. The other way, Terry, is how would you know you're getting stronger?
I see. Other than
Measuring your weights.
getting a, bone scan.
No, not non-technical.
Oh, okay. Just noticing that you can lift more.
Okay, what do you like to lift?
Let me see. I can't think of anything right now.
You lifted something really heavy the other day. We mentioned it in class.
Mhm.
But she does it so often she can't remember it, so that's fine. But she is getting stronger and lifting more at home. And people are pulling things out of their trunk, cases of this, cases of that, littered fertilizer. They're lifting it and they're so proud of themselves. People are getting stuff off the top of the fridge. They're so excited that they don't have to call for a neighbor to help them. So I think that your markers for getting stronger bones are very evident in your activities of daily life. That going upstairs would be easier, that you wouldn't tire so much, you could shop more. You'd have resilience in shopping, more energy. So those are the things that we look at, and we find it in class. And we find that in class week to week sometimes, and we don't have to wait for a bone scan. The bone scan just reinforces that we're getting more bone mineral density, and that's always a good thing. But wait for more research to come along. So this is, are you at risk? On the left. Have you had a fracture? You have low BMD? Some people don't know what the BMD is. If you haven't had one, please go and get one for baseline. If you had a history of broken bones, doctors look very skeptically at broken bones. It's not normal to break bone, unless you fell off a horse, but there's a lot of fractures that happen without a lot of impact. A family history of osteoporosis, interesting, but not determinant, okay? Even if you have it in your family, it does not mean that you are unable to build bone. You can outgrow the genetics. And if you've had this childhood history of inactivity, low calcium, low sunlight exposure, then you would not be that healthy 30-year-old. Okay, so you could be starting at a low level of bone mineral density at 30, and then you're going to go really down. So you may have low bone density when you get to menopause. But in any case, we can pull up those BMDs. Small and thin, smoking and drinking, lots of salt. Here's the big one, chronic stress. Stress is in bold because of this message I received from Dr. Merle LaBeouf. She's a Harvard Medical School professor, and she is a director of a lot of osteoporosis programs and research. She has emailed me. She's in touch with me because she really approves of my program. Increased cortisol. What's cortisol? That's a stress hormone.
Stress
Right.
hormone.
You create it. So when you're stressed out, cortisol levels go up. Increased cortisol is associated with lower bone mass. Let me clarify that. Increased cortisol is a natural phenomenon when you are excited. Something happened and it's great, you're jumping up and down. Cortisol will go up because it's helping you get the energy to express your gratitude and your joy. But when you have chronic stress, and it's not positive, and it's called worrying, or it's called anxiousness, or it's called apnea, sleep apnea, where you're not getting enough sleep, when it's that chronic stress that you're keeping a bubbling low layer of cortisol, that you cannot build bone. So Dr. Merle LaBeouf is definitely in favor of relaxation. So we include that in our program. So we're going to talk about conditions and medications that inhibit bone growth. These are some conditions. I'm going to let you read them, but we're sending it home. Next. Medications associated with low bone density. I put this at the top because steroids quite often are prescribed for long-term conditions, and sometimes people don't get them checked, and it just plays havoc with your body. So always check with your doctor. You still need the same dosage. You still need the drug. Thyroid issues will interfere with bone growth, and certain antidepressants. So that's a take home. Next. We're coming to medications. Basically, the medications for osteoporosis are divided into two big fat groups. This is the biggest, fattest one here, the anti-resorptive. This is the condition of reducing the function of osteoclasts. They are a strong member of the bone team. The osteoclasts clear away dead bone. Is there anywhere in your body where you're clearing away dead cells?
Your skin.
Your skin. And estheticians thrive on this because they'll get you in for exfoliation and they'll help you get rid of the dead skin. So what happens when you take that outer layer of skin off?
New skin underneath.
You get new refreshing skin underneath. And that same process goes on with our bones. Can we go in with a scrubber? No. So we have osteoclasts that do the exfoliation, and then we have osteoblasts that promote the new cells coming up. Now, when we're young, we're doing more building. We have more osteoblasts building bone. And you can tell because everybody said as you were trying, aren't you getting big? Remember that? Oh, you're so tall. That's all they'd ever say when they saw you. So it was remarkable when we were growing up. So the bone building was really active, and there weren't too many dead cells around. Then as you started to develop osteoporosis at age 30, the slowed down, then there was more building of the dead bone because the osteoclasts slowed down and the bone building, or the osteoclasts build up and the osteoblasts slow down. So what we do in exercise is we build up osteoblast function. Now, when you have a collection of dead bone cells, because the osteoclasts are just not removing them. See, there's drugs like Fosamax that stop the osteoclasts from cleaning. No more sponges, no more exfoliation. So the dead bone cells pile up and it looks great on a scan. It looks like you've got great bone mineral density. However, why do you think the first side effect of Fosamax is arbitrary fracture of the femur and the jaw? That's because it's crap bone. And I don't know if that's good English or not. You can tell me later, Gabrielle. But
Scripted.
you're building up bone that doesn't last, and that's why we have arbitrary fractures, because the buildup of bone is not good. So that's one category. And within that category, we have the estrogen replacement therapy, which went out a long time ago because of
Breast cancer.
there was a lot of it, yeah. Then there's Fosamax, and then there's Prolia. I wish we could underline Prolia or something, but a Prolia is a very dangerous drug in that if you stop on by yourself, it'll fall off the table and you will immediately get a fracture. It's just very dangerous to end Prolia on your own. You can stop Fosamax on your own, but Prolia has to have a prolonged life, and then your doctor will put you on another drug. But Prolia seems like a good idea because it's an injection twice a year. And when people get an injection, like a bee sting, they don't even think that it's doing anything to their body, but it wears out after a while. Then you have another one. So when Prolia is annoying you with the side effects, then you cannot stop it. Never do that. Go to a doctor. And then Avinity is kind of a new drug that is the same function of inhibiting the function of the osteoclast, like stopping the cleansers. Evenity, it has some side effects that aren't very nice, but as they say, the risks are less than the benefits.
Mhm.
That's what people are told. So then there's another category of medication for osteoporosis. They're called anabolics. They actually stimulate new bone growth. Does it sound wonderful? Yeah. Uh-huh. But one of them is Forteo, one is the parathyroid hormone and Timlos. Uh, the parathyroid hormone and the thyroid hormones, they're right here in your throat. That's where they get it, but it's a very, very expensive protocol, somewhere in the thousands per month. And they also have their side effects. So when you're on the medication, know the drug, know the side effects, and please keep on exercising. Did you say neck of the femur?
Oh, yeah.
Once upon a time, I think you did. So there it is. This is a cracked bone. There's different parts of the hip that can fracture, and that's a real fracture. And then we get into the neck of the femur, which is right there, and that helps the insertion of the head of the femur getting into the pelvis. So the hip is a joint that is designed to go around and around and around. And most people bring it forward when they walk. Most people will bring it forward when they sit down. And very, very few people take their leg to the back. Harry, you're going to show us taking the leg to the back today. Big time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this joint doesn't get used properly, and that's why it develops arthritis, and that's why it develops osteoporosis, and that's why it develops pain, and that's why it's a big subject for hip replacement. 50% of people who fall and fracture will need assistance walking for the rest of their life. 20%, 25% will never go back to their own home. 25% will end up in a nursing home, and 25% will die. And this is considered a life-threatening condition. Osteoporosis is considered a life-threatening condition. And when they say walking can result in a hip fracture, that's because the fossa max has built up crap bone here and it fractures when you stand on it. Most people do not know they have osteoporosis until they
Oh,
fall and fracture. Right. Okay. So that because now it's more popular that people talk about bone scans, but years ago they didn't. And the treatment for osteoporosis was Tums and walk. All right, next, please. Just take Tums at night and go for a walk. Fall prevention. Let's talk about this rather quickly. Is this in a take home? Put this in a take home. So we have the eye contributing quite highly to your balance. But you know what it is? It's not highly. You think it's highly. It's 30%. 30% of your balance is in your eyes. You've got to have your eyes really in good shape. And if you're wearing bifocals or progressive lenses, I think you have to learn to look at the top. But what they're saying is if you have bifocals or progressive lenses, have a regular pair of lenses for your walking. And then when you're sitting down and enjoying yourself or even driving, then use your prescription, the progressive lenses. Your inner ear plays a role in balance. I have somebody who's deaf in one ear, and when he turns his head, he falls over. So he can only do head turns to the other ear. So having any ear issue taken care of is important. And that would be maybe needing hearing aids. I have a lot of people that need hearing aids, but they don't wear them. Now, the joint and muscle function as it relates to balance depends on the functionality of joints and muscles. The functionality of a joint means it has to move. The functionality of a muscle means it has to contract and expand. So if you're not exercising, you're not moving your joints and you're not moving your muscles in a contraction or expansion. So that is going to put you at risk for a balance problem. Footwear. What about, say something about footwear, Terry?
Well, you need good fitting shoes and little slippers are not good because
Say that again.
slippers are not good.
Thank you. They're dangerous.
Yeah.
I saw a woman wearing slippers on the street today. And I wanted to stop and talk to her, but I didn't. What else, Terry? Catherine, about shoes?
They shouldn't have an open back, so they flop around a little
That's
lot,
right.
so it's a tripping risk.
Stable heel. And what I like to mention now as a seasonal tip is, please get out your winter boots. Start to wear them, try the driveway with them, try the driving with them. Because as we age, our feet change. Which way do they change? Do they get smaller or bigger?
Bigger.
Bigger, right? Across the toe box. So what you wore last winter may be uncomfortable. Do not wait till the first snowfall to put your boots on, get in your car and go. No, no, no. You have to try your boots on now. And this is the time to buy new ones because they're all over the place now. You can't buy good boots later on in the winter. So please get your boots out and walk with them and drive with them. And for driving right now, you've got to notice the leaves on the ground. If you're bringing leaves into your car on the sole of your foot, scrape them off. Because if you have leaves on the sole of your foot and you're driving, you're most likely to slide off the pedal. So please watch out for stuff on your sole. It could be snow, it could be ice, it could be salt, and it could be, somebody's going to say acorns, I know, but they will not. I know, they don't stick to the bottom of your feet, Terry.
No.
Okay. All right, and we got the hydration. People don't put enough faith in water. Hydration not only helps your balance, but it helps your thinking, and it brings a lot of people down from anxiety. People are very tense when they're dehydrated. They don't know why. People bother them, things bother them, but once they're hydrated, they're much smoother and easier to deal with. And 5 for Focus, is that in the take home? It's in the newsletter. Basically, 5 for Focus is a long story, but I'm going to abbreviate by saying you look at your terrain before you walk, before you enter a room, before you go into the woods. You stand there and you view your terrain. And as you view every item, your body and your mind and your eyes are recording the depth perception and the safety involved. And also targets what muscles are going to use to either step over something or take a turn to the right or take a turn to the left. So you're programming your brain for safety if you stop. And I learned all this by working with people from the Perkins Institute for the Blind. And I think we covered it in the newsletter, right? When you join the program, you will get a current newsletter and as many back issues as Gabrielle can find for you if you want. So we have balance, agility, and coordination. Coordination is something you're all familiar with, picking up things, trying to button your shirt at the right buttons with the right buttonhole. People don't like it when they're uncoordinated, but you can learn that. We develop that. And we also develop proprioception, and we do strengthening. Next, please. That's just the inner ear. So balance and coordination, we improve with practice. Daily drills are advised to take home. We're probably going to send you home with a couple of drills right now. Certain blood pressure medication, very common for causing dizziness, and some blood pressure medication causes coughs. Low blood pressure could cause dizziness, dehydration, alcohol, narcotic use, anxiety, colds or sinus infections, plus the medications used to treat them. So what I'd like you all to do, just stand up for a minute, please. Let's just stand up for a minute and just take in a deep breath. Maybe stretch your arms up in the air. Next, please. Breathing. I think everybody at home should be doing this. We don't see people at home. Are you there? I hope we have an audience. I don't see anybody. Usually I can see my members. Okay, so I just assume you're out there. Did you take a deep breath and stretch your shoulders, make some circles? Okay, let's get into proprioception. You can sit down again. The proprioception is just awareness of the position and movement of your body without vision. And you need proprioception when you're walking in the dark. And you need proprioception if you're walking backwards. And you need proprioception if you're backing into a parking spot. You need proprioception if you're putting on your earrings without a mirror. That you know where the holes in your ears are. That's important, right? And it declines with age, and it will increase the risk of falling if you don't have good proprioceptive skills. Proprioception can be developed with specific exercises every day, okay? Walking backwards has gained a lot in the press lately as being a very, very important health benefit. They call it in the scientific circles retro mobility, but anyways, we call it walking backwards. And it very, very helpful for painful hips, knees, and ankles for starters. It reverses the whole pattern of loading your bones by putting your heel down and walking through. When you walk backwards, you put your toes down, you walk backwards, and every joint from your ankle up to your hips and your ribs has to function differently. So it's a break in your pattern of walking, and it relieves your body if walking for some reason is aggravating your lower back or your hips, knees, or ankles. That's the physical benefit from walking backwards, but there's a lot of emotional benefits from walking backwards, and they talk about training children that need specific changes made in their pattern of thinking or behavior. And it's definitely used in therapy for plantar fasciitis, post-stroke, and knee problems. But there's just many. Look it up sometime. All right. But we do it in class, don't we?
Yes.
As I said, there are some other benefits other than physical, cognitive function, memory, learning, reaction time, which means reflexes, and problem-solving skills like, what's a big problem-solving skill that you're glad you have? Well, just getting up and out in the morning. Do you know that's a
Yeah.
skill? I mean, a lot of people can't get up and get anywhere in the morning.
Right.
So this is what we want to stress, that you people can get up and out to a class, whether it's the 11 o'clock or the 4 p.m. to be there on time. That's the beginning of success, is to show up somewhere.
Mhm.
But a lot of people can't get organized to do it. But if you're at home and you have rollers in your head, that's okay, right? Good for you. That's why Zoom is such a good thing. All right. Ta-da. Well, for starters, we're going to start with some balance exercises. We have Terry and Catherine again. Terry is going to demonstrate how we use the ball on the wall. It's called the Beverly ball or the play ball on my website. And Catherine's going to demonstrate how we use a pole for posture. You're first, Terry.
Okay. With the play ball, put it behind your waist and lean against the wall. Your feet out a little bit from the wall and kind of elongate your spine over the ball.
Does that feel good?
Does
If you'd like to try this at home, you may. If
One
anybody
arm up.
has a ball,
the other arm up and see how close you can get to the wall.
and maybe you can't.
Maybe you can.
Maybe the first time they can't, Terry. So it comes with practice,
Right.
right? Thank you. And what are you going to show us, Catherine?
I have a pole here, and you can use anything that's straight. You can use an umbrella, a baseball bat, or a broom, and you put it behind your back, and your elbows around the edges. But when you put it behind, you lift your cage up high, so you can really feel it, feel the posture, and it feels really good. And you walk around with it.
And you haven't made a drastic change in your posture. That pullback, it's a tiny amount of movement, but it makes all the difference in alignment. And there's so many classes on posture, and you have to have measuring tape and everything to measure angles of your neck and your ears and your shoulders. I mean, this is the fastest way to get good posture. And everybody in osteo fitness has changed their posture. Every single person has changed their posture for the better. What do you use, Catherine? What do you like for the pole?
I have a little shower curtain that expands and contracts.
So that's perfect.
So,
All
but
right.
something like this is great, or an umbrella.
I like to use the umbrella.
Easy thing.
Okay, so there's another thing for balance. It's a part of the balance family. It's called proprioception. And no, we're still on balance. You're going to do bouncing your ball on one leg, Terry. Let her get started. Bouncing your ball standing on one leg. Now, what if they can't do that? Put the foot down and then just do kickstand with your back foot.
Or you just balance with your toe, but your weight is still on one leg.
That's right.
So still works.
So she went from kickstand to one leg. But if you cannot do it, you can use two legs on the floor, Kate, Terry. So that's always a good thing. That's good for coordination. And eventually you would go into kickstand and then one leg. Catherine, would you please show us standing in tandem?
So you put one foot in front of the other foot. So they're both aligned perfectly, well, not perfectly straight. If you can't do it straight, then you can move the front foot over a little bit like this.
That's important.
Because it can take a while to develop this, to get them really straight. So start where you're not gonna fall over anyway, but then you really work to keep the core in and shoulders back and your weight on your rear heel.
Now, don't stop there, Catherine. Let's take it to turning your head in tandem. Keep your eyes open.
Okay, so now this is the next level. You turn your head slowly to the right and left. While standing in tandem.
I'm just gonna whisper, are you breathing?
Yes.
Okay.
And then after you do that several times, like do it 3 times is good. You reverse the tandem. And again, up nice and straight, feel the weight in your heel and right and left.
So you're doing that quite comfortably, Catherine. You know, the balance, what happens when people balance, they start to do a good job. And then they feel smug. Then they start to think about things. That's when they lose their balance. So the most important thing of maintaining your balance is to continue to focus.
Focus, yeah, focus.
And I'm just going to say something silly because I saw it today. It said, hocus pocus, time to focus. That was silly. Okay. What else? Next, please. Oh, now the next thing is proprioception. We had talked about Terry doing a back lunge to show us how she's going to step backwards, but she doesn't need to watch her leg go back. Her proprioceptive skills in her body will let her know that the leg has gone back. And then you can bend that back knee, lift up the back heel. That's called the back lunge. Bring it back again. Do it again. So she takes it back, lifts the back heel, bends the back knee. Notice that she's not turning around. Her foot is perfectly straight. I think your foot is in the perfect alignment because your hip is in internal rotation. Very nice. You want to turn it around and show the other leg? That's very nice. So that's working the back without looking, and that's called proprioception. Some people always want to turn around and look behind them. Once you develop proprioceptive skills, you're pretty safe about stepping back to take a photograph and things like that. Because some people fall off ledges when they step backwards to take a photo. It's terrible. Somebody just did it recently in our class. So it was her husband. She didn't because she's in the class. But he's very surprised. I mean, a fall like that takes you right off your focus because you think you're taking a picture. So Catherine is now going to take us through the retro walking. So there's 2 points with the retro walking. Do you remember them, Catherine?
Well, one important thing is you get into position. I'm going to be walking backwards. You take a look behind you and scout out your territory and get in your head how many steps you might need and when you need to stop. Okay, there you go. Okay. I don't want to hit Terry, so.
Okay, come towards me. So she stopped. She didn't look backwards. A lot of people try to walk backwards while and turn their head at the same time, and they end up walking diagonally, and then they get into trouble. There's a time and a place to walk backwards. And even if there isn't, it's deemed as a health benefit. And the experts say up to 15 minutes a day would definitely help all kinds of health benefits and your mood and a lot of cognitive skills. So let's keep that in mind. Is that in the take home? Retro walking? Okay, so I think that's it for now. We're going to go back to the lecture. This is a cellular view of the bone and how exercise builds bone. The top circle is showing this little blue osteoclast. He's cleaning out the dead cells. So can you see that the bone is getting thinner? And then there's the osteoblast is building up with healthy bone. The osteoblast is building up the bone. And it's called resorption. It goes back and forth. Like everything in your body is plus and minus. Cells are disappearing, cells are disintegrating, new cells are being born. So it's an ongoing process in the body. Okay. There's different types of exercise to build bone. There's strength training, and that's what we use. But there's different types of strength training. One is weight training. When we use weight training, we're just using our body's weight. And there'd be something like a squat that would demonstrate the weight because you're just using your body weight as you bend your knees. Resistance training is using a prop. In our case here at Osteo Fitness, you would see people using weights of different grades, 5, 7, 2, 10, 20. People have a different weight challenge for every muscle set in the body. So when you start out, you usually start 3 pounds, and then we work it up. So in a year, you probably could be getting it up to 5 pounds, which is a decent weight for building bone. The strengthening, of course, has to be progressive and increasing over time. And the strengthening has to specifically target osteoporotic sites. So what I'm saying is a general strengthening class in some other program will not work because they don't target osteoporotic sites, which I've named earlier in your skeleton. It's the hips, it's the neck of the femur, it's the spine, the lumbar spine, and the wrists. So what I'd like to do now is go to Terry and Catherine. We're going to start the strengthening with a warm-up. So Terry, I'd like you to start warming up at the garden gate. Have a chair ready. And you can stand by, Catherine, because you're going to demonstrate the neck and the shoulder warm up. We have to warm up all the joints that we're going to use in strengthening. And I suggest that you all try to stand up and hold on to a chair. I'd like you to try this one. Any part of it. You don't have to do the whole thing like Terry, but you can do part of it. So it's called the garden gate.
Yeah.
Left leg.
You can use a chair for support. If you can, use just a finger, or if you have to hold on more. Bring the knee up, turn it out, bring it back and down.
We'll do 4. Very nice.
And the other side. So this is working the neck of the femur with a motion that you normally don't do in daily life, right, when you're walking.
Maybe soccer players or
Yeah.
Cirque du Soleil. But the average person who worked in an office or had a career indoors probably didn't do hip rotation.
Right.
So Catherine is going to demonstrate now how we warm up the neck and the shoulders. She's going to do some neck and shoulder work and something we call CAM.
For neck and shoulders, you can lift the shoulders as high as you can. And we're going to count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we're going to pull our shoulder blades all the way back, so you can feel it in your back, and then down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Back and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Back and down. And then the next one we call the camp, and your arms up like this. You can do it against the wall, if you like or not. And then you, one elbow down. And put it. And you should be able to feel this in the back of where your shoulder blades come together, your arms. And do it as far as you can. Some people may only be able to move their arms a little bit or get their arms out, but the more you do it, the more you're going to be able to have more flexibility with this.
One lady said to me, I could never put my hand behind my back. And then she said, after I've been in this class for a month and a half, I could put both hands behind her back and up a bit. So she attributes a lot of benefit because that's a good exercise for rotator cuffs. Now, would you both demonstrate, please, standing with one leg out and maybe just point and flex the ankle? Somebody take a chair, please. I'd like everybody to feel comfortable using a support. Well, this is important too because ankles support us.
And then keep going. Right ankle. Other way.
And let's just do just a few heel lifts to demonstrate how we strengthen the ankle. And hold it for a minute at the top. And of course, there's stretches to follow this, but we're not doing those today. So why don't we move on to upper body? Would you please get appropriate hand weights? When you start this program, you start with very light weights, even if you've been in a strengthening program somewhere else, because we do a lot of work that they don't do in gyms. So we like everybody to start at 2 pounds. Laundry. Yep. We're going to do 2 pounds to start with. And then when we see that you can do all of the exercises safely, then I'll start increasing your weight. But don't come into the program with your 10-pound weights. Would you please start with the laundry? We call this the laundry. You could take turns calling it.
Up, back, down,
Back. Down.
up, back, down.
Up the sternum. Okay, let's stop right there. That little click back, Terry, you just did it. We came up and then you did that back. Remember Catherine was talking about pulling those shoulder blades together? This is exactly what you're inserting into this exercise called the laundry. Up again, up your sternum, and then pull the shoulder blades together. That is the key to strengthening upper back and the bones of the upper spine. Thank you, ladies. And we're going on with the lecture. Years ago, we used to talk about the burn, feel the burn, feel the burn. And then years ago, we also talked about no pain, no gain. You remember that? That's obsolete right now. We talk about extreme fatigue. This is a brand new physiological term, but it's also a different condition in the muscle. It is not painful. Extreme fatigue is feeling like you cannot do any more. And then you do one more. So say the screen, there's 20 lines on it representing repetitions, 10 and then a space and then 10. So the whole screen would be doing, say, 20 repetitions of these laundries that the girls just did. The first 10 are warm-ups. Then we have a little break, and then we do 10 more. And we're still warming up the muscle. The true strengthening comes about the last 2 or 3 repetitions when people want to quit. That's when I hear the groans. That's when people say, oh, but that's when the bone is building. It's not really a pleasant situation. Okay. So we do 20, and out of the 20, the last 3 are building the bone. So that's why we have to take you through you know, the fun part and then stay with you while you're struggling to do the last three. Now, if you get to the 20 and you're still lifting quickly, then I know the weights aren't heavy enough. So what do I do then?
Increase the weight.
Right
Sug-
on the
suggest
spot.
that we-
On the spot. That's right. So what if you're lifting the weight now and you come to the fourth one and you feel like you're tearing your muscles off the bone?
Stop.
Mhm. Because that's too heavy a weight. But a lot of bodybuilders will go in with 20 pounds because they think if I do 4 at 20, I'll strengthen faster. It's not true. This program is written precisely at Tufts University of Nutrition and Science, and it was written especially for osteoporosis. It is not a general strengthening program that you'll ever see in any gym. I have to discuss fascia because everybody talks about it. Nobody knows what it is. And it's all over the place, all over your body. It's all over the media. And it's been the bane of surgeons for years because it clumps and it stops the function of the organ it's protecting. It's like this Halloween gauze that you put on trees, and it's around all the muscle. These are muscle bundles, and each muscle bundle will have some around it. And then they'll do 5 together, and then they'll do 10 together. Then the whole muscle will have it. And then the organs like your heart and lungs are hanging in the chest cavity, but they're not falling into your pelvis because, well, you've got a diaphragm, but also you've got fascia holding those organs up, and your intestines, they're not falling out of your body, right? But they stay they stay in place because we've got fascia holding things, and it's wonderful. I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes, you know, you feel that your body's drooping a little bit and things are slipping down, but they don't slip out of your body. So fascia is a good thing. And the problem with fascia is it has nerves in it and it needs water. It's kind of a needy kind of a tissue. And when it's perfect because it's gliding over the muscles. But what happens, it gets separated when we do misuse of muscles, overuse, not enough use, not enough stretching, too much lifting, having a torque or a twist with a muscle. The fascia comes disconnected and it'll clump up in little balls like saran wrap, and then the nerves in it. Fascia has nerves, and then the fascial pain is like unbelievable. And people don't know how to identify fascial pain from muscle pain from um impact pain. It's just like the whole world of pain is influenced a lot by fascia. So I deal with it. I do muscular therapy, and I deal with fascia that gets stuck and clumped, and it helps people be mobile. However, there are certain exercises that are very good for establishing the alignment of fascia, and two are squats and forward lunges and resistance training. Don't we do that? We do all that. And hydration. Do we drink in? Yes.
Yes.
So we drink in class, we're drinking now. And I just want you to know that we cover all the needs of fascia in this class, as well as muscles and bones. I've said this over and over again. We target the hip, the neck of the femur, the total spine, lumbar spine, wrist. Check your scan for these spots. Know your numbers for each spot. And when you join the program, send me a copy of your bone scan and I'll sit down with you for half an hour and let you understand the reading. We don't do flexion of the spine. Next. This is the big concept in Pilates. No, no, no. Next. Some yoga positions. It's twisting and flexion of the spine that will cause a compression fracture. And we are trying to avoid compression fractures because they're very painful and one will lead to another. So we have to know which exercises not to do. These are two examples of yoga that don't work, as well as the shoulder stands, deep hip stretches, the deep twist, supine twist, and the warrior pose, and pigeon. Pigeon is one of the worst things for neck of the femur. Pilates, any spinal flexions. A lot of Pilates exercises are lifting your upper body to meet your lower body. You know, the V, the body's up, the arms are up, the legs are up. Excuse me, we do not do that in class. And if you're in a Pilates class, you're going to hurt yourself if you have osteoporosis. Swimming, Swimming is one of the best exercises in the world because it uses every single muscle. You swim, Catherine? You like it? That's good. Terry?
Not so much.
Terry talks about it a lot. Don't you, Terry? Yes. But Terry does other things. She does a lot of hiking. But swimming will use every muscle in the body. But one of them that's contraindicated would be a rotating spine in your exaggerated freestyle. If you're going viciously like this, like they do in the Olympics, that's rotating your spine with force. No, no, no. And now walking. Terry loves walking. Listen to this, Terry. It doesn't build bone. No. Well, swimming doesn't either. No. So, aren't they glad they're in the class? Yeah. So the walking does not build bone, but we do bone building walking in our class. We add lunges to our walk, and we add other things to our walk, and we make all the time that people spend walking into a bone building walk. That's something that's really great in this class. And just remember that exercise increases muscle strength, it develops balance, increases heart health, and improves the quality of life while you're building bone. All right, we're coming to the third section of exercise. Are the models ready?
Okay.
All right, it's not more hard work. This is the relaxation phase.
So from two, and I put the tennis ball into my, like the arch of my foot, and I'm rolling it around.
Just go from the metatarsals to the heel.
Here.
And that's all you do.
See if there are any spots that feel tight. It feels really good.
It spreads your toes too. So you can just sit like that and let your toes rest over the ball. Catherine's going to use the play ball to show us just the frog where your knee goes out to the side.
Both legs.
Both legs. So you put both legs on the ball, the soles touching. Turn your knees out. Now the soles of your feet will touch. Straighten your legs out. Bring them in. Let your knees fall out. There you go. You're getting your soles to come towards each other. Bring them up. So this is a great exercise for relaxing and opening up your hips. And also it works your core. So start pulling in your core, Catherine, pulling your navel to spine. And that's going to be a good core exercise. So there's the use of the tennis ball, the use of the play ball. And you've seen the use of the play ball on the wall. So thank you, Catherine. Now, the next thing that we're going to do for relaxation is very popular. People love it. People have helped hyperactive children go to sleep with this. And people have used it traveling to get to sleep on the plane. And people have used it successfully to re-sleep, which means they went to sleep, they woke up and couldn't get back to sleep. It's called head tapping. And you have the map on your own head. We're going to be using the hairline, the temples, and the eyebrows. You might want to take your glasses off. And the tool that we're using is the finger pads, the fatty part, the part that hurts when they draw blood. Okay, so that's a lot of nerves in there. So we're going to be doing head tapping with a couple of fingers on your temples. Close your eyes, please. Now, as I said, we're doing samples of things today. In class, we do things a little longer. This is part of a relaxation workshop that's available through Gabrielle on sleep and relaxation. We go into the disciplines of relaxation in more detail. So you're going to leave the temple and come up your hairline, over your forehead, back down to your temple, and up to your forehead. Now come down to your eyebrows. Tap your fingers at 90 degrees to your eyebrows. 90 degrees. Big strong bone there. Back and forth. Now you're tapping along the eyebrow from the temple to the nose, back and forth, and all over your forehead. Okay, now you may put your hands down Open your eyes. This is the final breath for relaxation. Thank you, Dr. Herbert Benson. We inhale through the nose to a count of 3, and then we lift our hands while we're doing that. Then we rotate and push the palms down as we exhale through the mouth to a count of 5. All right, hands up and inhale. 1, 2, 3, and rotate and exhale down. Push the stress down. Inhale up. And exhale down. Inhale up. And exhale down. Just wiggle your shoulders a little bit and just stay a little relaxed. We're going to carry on. You may put your glasses on. We're just going to touch on calcium. This is a take home. We want 1,200 milligrams per day, 900 from food and 300 from supplements. Few sources are listed here, but you're going to get a larger, more comprehensive food list with your take home. Vitamin D3, vitamin D3, vitamin D3. That's the one that is going to help metabolize calcium. 800 to 1,000 IUs per day. Some of the dosages recorded in micrograms, so you're going to see a different value, but we want IUs, 800 to 1,000 IUs, international units. Would you like to come and read this, Catherine? Just run off some foods with vitamin K.
Okay, foods with vitamin K.
I can see you.
Okay. Dark leafy greens, collard greens, avocado, Brussels sprouts, animal protein, and fermented foods.
Can you name one fermented food?
Yes, sauerkraut.
Excellent. Terry, can you come forward and read magnesium, the sources?
Whole grains, leafy greens, nuts and seeds, avocado, spinach, raisins, and tomatoes.
What's the sad story about spinach?
It has something in it that prevents it, when it's raw, it prevents it from being absorbed. So you
Okay,
have to cook it.
thank you. All right, next. So turmeric is it's everywhere now. It's been in India for 3,000 years. They have very little arthritis in India because turmeric is an anti-inflammatory. They sprinkle on everything, like Americans sprinkle salt and pepper on foods. So that's going to go home in the take home. What else do we have? You're going to have a lot to do this weekend with the reading. But when you sign up for the class, we go over all this in class, right? The information just dribbles out in class, but you're getting a big box edition of it today. And this is like some work on oxalates. I'm going to let you read that for yourself. People who need to worry about oxalates are people with kidney disease, all right? Next. If you want to lower any of these foods that are high in oxalates, you can cook them. Make sure that you have extra calcium if you're taking any foods with oxalates in them. Please limit your sugar and your sodium. And this is where vitamin C comes in. The Bone Health and Osteoporosis Foundation has never talked about vitamin C, but lately they've been saying they can't prove what it does, but it's a good thing if you have osteoporosis, all right? And you want to, oxalic acid is water soluble. So if you put your almonds in water first, that would help deal with the oxalates. And almond milk has calcium, and because it's got water in it, it's reduced the oxalates that are in almonds. And if you wanted to have your almonds separately from other food, just eat them 4 hours after your calcium food, and it wouldn't interfere with them. Okay. Stress prevents bones from developing new cells. Like I said before, it's long-term stress, and the words from Dr. Merle LaBeouf are repeated here. Increased cortisol is associated with lower bone density. And she emailed me that on a Sunday morning when she discovered, and it had to be said, she sent it right out to me. And I try to get that across to my members, but a lot of people don't want to hear about stress because it's abstract. And they think that I just have to strengthen. I want more weights. I want to strengthen more. They want to get into strength and they don't want to do the warm up. I see them lifting their heavy weights in a lot of classes that I teach. And I have to say, no, we have to do the warm up and we have to breathe and we have to keep our body in some kind of harmonious state for the bones to build. Okay. And I'm just going to mention a few ways to reduce stress. One is the exercise. One is the Benson breath, which we did today, the head tapping, which we did today. And of course, finding we can't do the sleep here. We don't have any beds, but finding your natural circadian rhythm means finding out when you need to go to bed so that you wake up at the appropriate time without an alarm clock. All right. If you wake up to an alarm clock, you're setting your body into Dr. Buff's cortisol high level of stress. All right, those are the other things that are helpful for stress. Animals are important, right? To some people. I mean, some people are afraid of them, but some people find a lot of comfort and stress reduction with an animal, but definitely sleep is important. Sleep and osteoporosis. Individuals with osteoporosis report poor sleep quality and less hours of sleep. They want between, 7 and 9 hours per night. And they want not so much of a diurnal sleep schedule where you're sleeping during the day. An inconsistent sleep schedule is bad. For building bones, you need to have a regular nighttime schedule. And you've read these tips before, sleeping in a cooler, dark room, putting your screens away, try to wake up without an alarm clock, have a definite routine, maybe teeth, face, hair, putting on special outfit for going to bed, and then start training yourself into relaxation with some breathing exercises. We also have a workshop available on sleep through Gabrielle. So we've gone through the relaxation exercises. And that's why I want to say to the question, can osteoporosis be reversed? Yes, it can. But it has to be with the right amount of exercise, the right amount of nutrition, and stress management. So I hope that this presentation has given you some hope about building bone and improving your aging process. It seems like all we do is eat, but here's another photograph of everybody enjoying a calcium cafe. We have tablecloths and flowers and homemade food. This is not just an exercise class. This is not an hour of exercise per week. This is not a regular exercise class. It's much more. It's more like a program. And I want to point out the features. One is the fall prevention, posture and balance, the strength and resistance training targeted at osteoporotic sites. There's nutrition for osteoporosis, stress management, online coaching. Like when you're in the Zoom class, I speak with you individually and coach you. There's 2 floating videos that come with your registration so that if you can't make the Zoom class, you can't make the day class, then you may do a video at home at your own time and own schedule. And the nice thing about floating videos, if you're very, very busy and you only can do 10 minutes at a time, then do the balance and then pick it up another time during the day. But you certainly have control over your exercise when you have the floating videos. We send out a newsletter bi-monthly that has a very, very extensive list of important things pertaining to osteoporosis, a lot of menus, and we also feature a guest member every single newsletter, pictures with them and their story about fitness. We also have bonus material. If something comes along that I feel you need to know right away, Gabrielle will send it out as a bonus. It may be an essential recipe, like for sauerkraut, or it may be something that's just come up, and it's something that I think everybody could enjoy right away. We call that the bonus material. This is going home with you. These are graphs that I've done to show that T-scores improving, and all three in this area have improved in this gray zone where they're attending OsteoFitness. So these are two members in front of our skeletons. We do a lot of work with bones and trying to teach people what bone goes where and where the neck of the femur is. So there's a lot of education that goes on in the classes. Walking is not enough, remember that. And if you'd like to sign up for the Concord class, then you would register with Gabrielle Plaint at gplaint@osteofitness.com. I also run classes in Lexington, and you'd want to call the director, Christine Dean, and it's cdean@lexingtonmass.gov. So this is my information. Oh, look, there's a little heart down there. We want to give a special thanks to Teresa Geddes and Kathy Fall. Thanks very much. Very nice. Thank you. Did we want some questions? If something comes up later on, please email me, but I'll just say bye for now and thank you for joining us.